Welcome to the Credit Repair Show with your host, the Credit Doctor, Angelo McCutcheon, coming to you with another quick video on the credit repair process. And we want to shout out everybody that's watching us on YouTube, everyone that's watching us on Facebook, and everyone watching us on Instagram. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe if you're on YouTube. Hit the notification bell. And, of course, leave a comment. To all of you guys coming in on Facebook, make sure you hit the like button, hit the share button. Give me some hearts if you like what we're saying. And just share the video. You know how we do. Instagram, if you like what we're saying, give us some hearts. Give us whatever we need, right? Because we're going to share some information with you guys. Today, we're going to be talking about the dreaded debt collectors. Yes, the dreaded debt collectors. So we're just going to give a few minutes for people to come into the room. And of course, when you come into the room and if you're coming through Facebook, make sure you click on the link above so that when you make your comment, it'll come right into the chat room. All right. So we want everyone to be able to feel free to ask a question. Let's interact and let's discuss how we can improve our credit. And of course, my name is Angelo McCutcheon. I have a company called the Faithful Credit Group, where we have been helping people repair their credit for over 15 years now, giving them the tools, the knowledge, and the information on how to deal with debt collectors, the credit bureaus, original creditors, how to find errors on their credit report, how to work with consumer attorneys. I mean, we're giving all that information out to you guys. So all we need you guys to do is to understand that the information we give you, of course, let me say this, is not legal advice. I'm not a lawyer, consumer lawyer, or any other type, and I don't play one on YouTube. So if you need legal advice, make sure you contact a consumer lawyer. All the information I'm going to be sharing with you guys, hello there, Fashion 101, I'm going to be sharing with you guys is for entertainment purposes only. But if you use the information, I believe it will help you guys improve your credit. Because when it comes to credit, you know what the numbers say. Over 60% of Americans live with bad credit. Over 60% of Americans live with bad credit. And when they talk about bad credit, they talk about having a score of 650 and below. And as we talked about in our last live, over 79% of credit reports have errors on them. 79% of credit reports have errors on them. So today we're going to be talking about debt collectors. Who are debt collectors? How are they constantly breaking the law, and what you can do in response to them breaking the law, and how you can file a lawsuit against them when they violate your rights. So basically, in a nutshell, debt collectors are people or companies that go around and they buy other people's debt. They go to creditors and they buy people's debt, buy them in bulk, buy them one on one. Most of the time they buy them in bulk, right? And they pay pennies on the dollar for those things. So for instance, just to give you an example, you can have a Verizon account that is sold to a debt collector. And let's say you owe Verizon $1,000. That $1,000 potentially will get sold to a debt collector for less than $500, maybe less than $200 in effect. And then the debt collector would then go after you for the whole $5,000 or $1,000, whatever it is, right? That's how they make their money. They buy these debts on pennies on the dollar. And then they go after you for the whole thing. And that's when they start calling you, harassing you in most cases. Now, not all debt collectors do that. There are some debt collectors that really try to stay to the law, really try to work within the law. But there's a whole lot of debt collectors that are constantly violating the law in order to collect a debt from you. And that's why when they call you, you pick up the phone, they trying to fast talk you about when you're going to pay this debt, when you're going to pay this bill, this and that, or they telling you things like, hey, we're going to sue you, or we're going to send the cops to your home, or, you know, all kind of craziness, right? Because, and a lot of times, the reason why they'll go that route, because it's easier for them to collect a debt if they make a person nervous, if they make a person afraid, thinking that they're going to be exposed for not paying their debt, or they think something bad like the cops are going to arrest them for not paying their debt. So these debt collectors will say all kind of craziness to get people to pay debts, to pay their debts. And so they get away with all, and I'm listening, debt collectors, it's $1 billion a year industry. They make billions of dollars collecting old debts. And in times past, they used to get away with harassing people. Back in the day, the 60s, 70s, harassing people, telling people they're going to sue them when they have no intention of suing them, telling them that they're going to tell their neighbors that they're bad people for not paying their debt, that they will put their name on a list, and send it out to their community of people who don't pay their debts, and you would be one of them. These are the things they used to do back in the day, way back in the day. But then the government stepped in and said, hey, you guys can't do this. So in the mid-70s, I believe it was, they came in and said, yeah, you guys got to stop doing this. And so right if you're trying to collect the debt, but you can't do it unfairly. And so they came up with the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, which governs what debt collectors can do and what debt collectors cannot do when it comes to collecting debt. And you also have the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which basically tell you what credit is, what the credit bureaus can do and what they can't do. And each one of those laws also tell you as a consumer what you can do and what you can't do. So basically, they start putting pressure on these debt collectors and start telling them that, hey, you cannot be using unscrupulous practices to try to collect debt. Now that we have the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, now we have, a set of rules that they must abide by. And when they don't abide by it, guess what? There is a remedy for you and I as the consumer. That is, we can file a lawsuit when they violate any one of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act laws that they must abide by. Now, here's the problem. Most people do not know what their rights are. And so debt collectors get away with doing a lot of bad things because most people do not know what their rights are. And that's why they get away with a lot of stuff. And so people like me and other credit repair companies that kind of specialize in helping people understand that you have some rights and educating you in that process, we're trying to get this information out to the consumer, to the average consumer, that you don't have to take what they tell you. You don't have to take their harassment. You don't have to take their abuse. You don't have to take the scrupulous ways that they try to come at you, because you have something called the Fair Credit Reporting Act and the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act to guide you along the way. Right? So debt collectors, again, right? A lot of times they'll send you these collection letters to your house. And I'll come back to the collection letters. Don't let me forget, I'll come back to the collection letters. But most of all, they will try to call you. They're famous for calling people, and when you pick up the phone, they say, "Hey, my name is whatever their name is. I'm calling on behalf of this, and that, and I'm calling about a debt that you owe. When can you pay the debt?" These debt collectors try to out-talk you. And listen, let me talk to you about how to deal with them over the phone. It's simple. It's simple, right? So what you don't want to do is you don't want to start arguing with them, or you don't want to start telling them why you can't pay the debt. Don't even agree that you owe the debt to them. Don't agree that you owe the debt to them, because you may not. They have to validate the debt. Right? So before you pick up that phone and they say, "Hey, we know you had a Capital One account. We're collecting on behalf of Capital One. This is portfolio recovery, whatever company. When can you pay the debt?" Don't agree that you owe the debt, because number one, you're not sure what debt they're talking about. And you're not sure if what they're saying you owe is the correct amount. You're just not sure. I can tell you you're not sure. The average person is not sure what they actually owe when it comes to the charges that the original creditor say you owe. They might say you owe $550. But by the time the debt collector call on you, they may say you owe $600. And if you agree to that, well, now they got you agreeing to a number over the phone, which is being recorded on their end. And let me give you a little tip here. You can record on your end as well. So you know how the minute they say, hey, this call is being recorded for training purposes or whatever they use that term, you can say, okay, great. Guess what? I'm going to record too on my end for my training purposes or whatever term you want to use. And record them. Get the apps that'll record them. Because a lot of times you can catch them saying things that you can actually file a lawsuit against them for. So they're known for harassing, calling you 2-3 times, having you changing your number all the time because you don't want to deal with these debt collectors. So you're changing your cell phone number over. Now you got like 20 different cell phone numbers you've had over the years because debt collectors have been trying to contact you and you're just trying to get away from that. But once you learn how to deal and talk with them, guess what? That changes the game. That changes the game. So one of the very first things when you're talking to a debt collector over the phone is don't agree to what they're saying you owe. Don't agree because you don't. Again, be wise, people. We're not saying not to pay your debts. And I have to say this in a lot of my videos because people would say, you telling people not to pay their debts? We're not telling you do not pay your debts. Everyone should pay any debts that they incur. But make sure if you are going to pay your debt, make sure it's accurate, that you're not paying more than you should be. All right? So I want to be very clear on that. We're not telling people not to pay their debts. We're telling everybody if you create a debt, you should pay your debt. But in times when it is sold to a debt collector, be careful because a lot of times they will add interest and fees when they're not supposed to that debt. And the law says that you have the right to request that they validate the debt. So all you got to say when you're talking to them is, hey, whoa. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but whatever information you have about me or concerning this debt, can you please send it to my home? Can you mail it to me? And then, of course, they will agree because they have to. Send that. Say, I need to look over what you're sending me. Now, give them your address and have them send it to your address. They have to send a collection letter. They have to send it within, I believe, 15 days after talking to you. Now, what you're going to do when you get that letter, now that you're watching this video, you're going to say, you know what? I'm going to send this debt collection letter to the credit doctor, Angelo McCutcheon, because I work with, I have access to attorneys who will look over your collection letter to make sure it is legit, to make sure there are no violations on that letter. And if there is a violation, the attorneys that I have access to will actually move forward in filing a lawsuit against that debt collector. And let me give you a secret. We have been doing this for years with attorneys. All right? So we've had attorneys sue debt collectors for violations just in the letter. And you know, according to the law, you're entitled up to $1,000 per violation, up to $1,000 per violation. Now, if that interests you, then guess what? You get a lot of people have these collection letters sitting on their table, their kitchen table, on their refrigerator, on their bill box. Put those collection letters together and send them to me. Send me your collection. It doesn't cost you anything to send me your collection letters, because we will have the attorneys that we have access to look over them for free. And we'll let you know if there's a violation or not. So again, when you're talking to a debt collector over the phone, you don't have to give them a sob story about how you couldn't pay your bill, how you tried to pay your bill, or the reasons why. They don't care nothing about that, so don't give them that. Just say, hey, before you say I owe this debt, I'm not sure exactly what debt you're talking about, but whatever information you have, send it to me so I can look over it. That's known as a done letter or collection letters, just to keep it simple. And then once you get a collection letter, you have the right to dispute that information. You have the right to ask them, say, hey, show me how this information is correct. Show me you have the right to collect debt in my state. Show me your license for collecting debt in my state. And many other things you can actually talk to them about that we'll share in future videos that we'll be doing. But they do, I'm telling you, they do violate your rights. Now, the law says what they can't do is they can't call and harass you, right? They can't call you 3-4 times a day, every day, trying to get in touch with you about that. I mean, there's some new laws that came out about that as well. They can't give you any false information saying that they're this person at that company when it's not true, right? That's also a violation. They can't threaten you with lawsuits if they don't plan on doing it. That's a violation. And because a lot of these debt collectors go around actually doing. Now, I talked to I physically talked to by way of social media, communicated with a gentleman, and this happens a lot. I get this a lot, where a debt collector tells somebody, calls somebody, and these are usually scams when you hear this. When they call and say, hey, we're calling about this bill that you owe. If you don't plan on owing it, we're going to send the cops to your house, or we're going to send the cops to your job, and if you don't plan on paying this debt. Whenever you hear that term, trust me when I tell you it's a scam. Somebody trying to scam you to pay money that you don't owe to them. So let me say that again. If at any time a debt collector calls you or even leave a message on your phone, it's obviously not going to give their real name because it's a scam or the company, but they're just going to give you false information, and they're going to give you a number to call back if they think you're going to pay the debt. But anytime they say, hey, call us back, or we're going to proceed with having the cops come to your home or have the cops come to your job, it's a scam. The cops will not arrest you for not paying your bills. Let me say it again. The cops will not arrest you for paying your bills. If a creditor wants to come after you and force you to pay your bill, the only weapon they have is to file a lawsuit and get a judgment through the courts. They're not sending no cops to arrest to your job or to your home to arrest you. And then there are times when they'll call your mother or your father or your brother, whoever name they have that they was able to retrieve by getting your information. That's who they'll call and say things to them about that. So then they can get nervous. They can then call you and say, hey, I got a call from a creditor, and they saying that asking about this bill that they say you owe, and they're going to send the cops to your house or this and that. They'll try to get your parents nervous so that you can then get nervous, so you can feel bad and say, you know what, let me pay these people so they don't be calling my family members. But that's a tactic in order to scare you to pay your bill. That's just a tactic to scare you to pay your bill. Don't fall for that. Do not fall for that. And it's a violation too, because the only way, now, do they have the right to call a family member if they have them as a contact information on an application that you put down? Yes, they have the right to call them, only to find out if you live at that particular address. That's all they're supposed to do, or to confirm if that's your number. They're not supposed to talk to your family members about a debt. They're not supposed to talk to them about anything, about how much you owe. They're supposed to just find out through them if you live at that residence, or is that your number that you could be reached by. And once you tell them no, this and that, they're supposed to hang up at that point. So when you ask them, what is this in reference to? They're supposed to say, well, we'll call back, or we'll call another time, or, they're not supposed to discuss anything about a debt to a third party, somebody outside of whoever they claim owes the debt. So that's very, very, very important that you guys understand that. Very important that you guys understand that. They are not supposed to talk to a third party about your debts. That's a violation, and you can file a lawsuit against them. Now, the question is, if you talk about these debt collectors, they break the law all the time to collect the debt. Why do they do it if they know you can file a lawsuit against them? But I'm going to tell you why they do it. Because they believe you don't know what your rights are, and that you won't sue them because you don't know you can sue them. That's why the ones that do it. And they know they're going to get away with it more times than not. And when they're caught, a lot of times they don't mind paying that $1,000 and attorney fees. Because they know there are so many other people that won't file a lawsuit, that'll get nervous and afraid and just pay the debt. But before you pay that debt, people, listen to me, before you pay that debt, make sure you know everything about that debt that they're asking for. So you have the right. You have the right to have them validate any debts that they say you owe. All right. So again, I appreciate you guys. Just wanted to drop in here real quick and give you some information about don't be afraid of debt collectors. More times than not, they're violating your rights, and you can file a lawsuit. Now, when we talk about filing a lawsuit, we're talking about when they mess up, when they violate your rights, you should get a consumer attorney that deals in consumer debt. Don't get a divorce attorney that doesn't deal with consumer debt. Don't get a injury attorney that does not deal in consumer debt. Get a consumer lawyer that deals in consumer debt. And 9 out of 10 times, they will look over your information for free. They will file a lawsuit on your behalf for free. The law allows them to, because you might say, how do they get paid? Well, the law allows them the benefit of whoever they sue will have to pay their debts. So it's a win-win for you. You don't have to pay a consumer attorney. And definitely with the ones that we have access to, you don't never have to pay them. So if you're listening to this, I don't care when you're listening to this video, understand if you have any debt collection letters, I don't care how many, and it's no more than 12 months old, like it's less than a year old, right? Send me those letters. I don't care if you have 10 of them, 20 of them sitting in your house. We will go through them. I have access to attorneys that will look over them for free. Now, you might say, how do I get that over to me? Well, all my information is definitely in the description of any one of my videos. All right. So you can always send them to Credit1964 at gmail.com. That's just send it, just email it to me, Credit1964 at gmail.com. All right. And again, for those of you who want to or in need of a consultation, we do give out free over the phone consultations. All you have to do is give us a call or reach out to me through my email, Facebook. You can inbox me, Instagram. You can DM me. And then we'll take it from there, set up a over-the-phone consultation with you, go over your credit, let you know what you need to do to improve it. And if you would like to work with our company, then we will talk to you about that as well. But the information is always free. The consultation is always free. And so we appreciate you guys for coming in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And as we always say, stay blessed. Whatever you do, stay blessed. But what's even more important is that you are a blessing. And with that, we say to everybody,